Hey everyone, this is Indoor Bush from Bush League Games, and this is episode 2 of my gameplay tutorial series for my homemade trading card game, the FlipSide. Last video I went over the game board, the deck constraints, how to build your deck properly, just on a really basic level, and then also just the general flow of how the game's going to work. And today I'm going to be going over everything that you need to know for the actual cards that you'll be playing with. Every aspect of the cards that you need to know to play the game. So I'm going to start out with this stack right here, and this is kind of just demonstrating the different colors that you'll see. So you'll see green, blue, and red cards. This doesn't really mean anything. They're not like different like types or archetypes or anything like that. The colors are kind of just randomly assigned, or maybe if it's some kind of fire creature or something, it'll be red. If it's a water, it'll be blue, kind of thing. But the colors don't really mean much. Some cards, like this one right here, might have an effect that only affects certain color cards, but the colors aren't meant to be too restraining as far as whenever you're trying to build a deck or something. But if I want to look at just one card in particular here, this is Ant Farmer. And you can see the top left here, you see 80. That is this card's power level. So power level is basically just its attack, defense, health. It's just all combined into one. So when this card is in battle, this is the number that is used to calculate, who wins the battle, basically. And you can see this has a light side as well as a dark side with slightly varied colors on the artwork here. Some cards, like Trapantula here, are dark on both sides. And then some cards are also light on both sides as well. So most of them, though, are gonna be light on one side, dark on the other. And that'll come into play more when we get to the different phases of the game. And so moving on, you got the logo here, FlipSide TCG, that's on both sides. Got the artwork, the name, the first edition stamp on these ones. You can see inside the little check mark, it says first edition. Thought that was pretty cool. And then so moving down to the bottom of the card here, this is where a lot of the important details are. On the left side here, you'll see these little token icons. There's 3 slots. And this one has 2 slots filled. So basically what these slots mean are that if you want to play this card from your hand onto the field, you need to place 2 battle tokens on it from your bank pile. So I'll go through this in a later video, but battle tokens are basically your resource, and this requires 2 to be played on the field. And it varies per card depending on what type of card it is. So if this card has over 100 power and an effect, and so it requires 2 tokens, but this one, having under 100 power and an effect, requires 1, as well as this one. So basically, every 100 in power requires a token, and then if it has an effect, you gotta tack on another one. So the max right now is a card that has 200 power or more and an effect that would cost 3 tokens to play onto the field. And then you can see on the other side here, there's also another set of icons here, similar to this side. And these are the number of tokens that the card needs to gain for it to become overweight and then gain access to the launch pad. And you don't need to worry about those terms yet, but just know that this is how many tokens it needs to enter the field, and this is how many tokens it needs to accumulate in addition to these ones to exit the field. And then moving on right down the middle here, we got the effect box. It's either going to say no effect like it does on here. So it says no effect. Or it'll say the type of effect, in this case flip, and then the details of the effect itself. So for this one, whenever this card flips to the opposite side, this effect activates where all other green cards gain 1 battle token. So that's a very good effect if you have a green-centric deck. And then down here, LTF is just the name of the set, Legend of the Forgotten. You got the rarity here. This is a common card. This is just the name of me, I guess. And then the card number, 62 out of 150 on this one. And yeah, that's all the attributes of the card that you need to know. Just in general, just a little basic overview. Moving on to the different rarities that you'll see. I believe that's this pile. Yeah. So the rarities start at common. You can see by the white box down here, it says common. And then uncommon will be the yellow box here. Or I guess oval thing. And then there's rares. You can see it's light blue. And then we got the extra rares. These are the, I guess the chase cards, I guess. You can see this one's actually number 1 out of 150. So this would be like the rarest of the rare, I guess. And then we also have the leader cards, which are kind of like their own rarity, I guess, in a way. They don't have a rarity symbol down here, but they do have the leader part up there that is different than a regular card. The regular card has the power. Leaders don't have power stats because they kind of sit in the back and do their own thing. And I guess I'll go over how the leader cards differ from the regular cards real quick. So you can see the leader cards, generally the same format, but instead of having requirements like the token requirements, they have material cards instead. So this one needs Silly Goose and Wild Goose Chase. And so basically you can play this on the field without those cards, but once you have both of those material cards attached to it, you unlock the second effect down here. This first effect is like an overworld effect. It kind of just is. As soon as you play the card in the field, that effect activates, or you can activate the effect. Meanwhile, this one is a more powerful effect down here at the bottom that you need the material cards to have. And you can see on this one, it specifically says to discard the 2 material cards. And so they're required for you to actually use the effect. The yellow box down here is the win condition that you need to have completed in your launch area. And so you for this one, you just need a total power of 1,000 or more. You can see the cards, some of the cards have as low as 40, while others, have 230. So obviously, if you're playing with this card in your deck, you need to have, at least 1,000 or more power to win the game. But I believe you also have to have at least 10 cards in your launch area to even unlock the win conditions. But I'll go over that in a future video as well. Okay, last thing I wanted to go over today was the different types of effects that you might see in the game. So starting off, you might see no effect. Some cards don't have an effect, and that's okay. There are some effects that it would be an advantage for your other cards not to have an effect. So there's a definite play style for that. And then you have flip effects, which happen during the flip phase, or if the card is to flip just by another effect. And in this case, this one, whenever you flip it, it draws 1 card to your hand. So real simple there. I tried to keep the effect descriptions as simple as I could. This is a trigger effect here on the Space Spectre. And a trigger effect basically means if a certain action occurs, it will trigger this effect to happen immediately. So something has to happen during the game that triggers this effect. And so the trigger for this effect specifically is that if this card is discarded by a card effect, you can draw 2 cards. So obviously if your opponent makes you discard this card, or maybe you find a way to discard this card yourself, you get to draw 2 cards because it will just trigger that effect. Next we have rapid effects. These are like your quick action effects. These are effects that you activate from your hand, actually. So it's almost like a pseudo magic card from Yu-Gi-Oh! In a way, where, you know, if like there's some rapid effects that like negate other effects that just got activated, or, you know, it basically just allows you to activate this effect whenever you want, either during your turn or even during your opponent's turn if you want as well. So this one increase the cost of the next card normal played by 1 token. So instead of 1, it would cost 2 if it was this card, for instance. And if your opponent's low on tokens in their bank pile, you can make that even more of an issue by playing this card during their turn, and then the next card that they play, they'd have to add an extra token on there. Next effect is called Continuous. Pretty self-explanatory. It's present in a lot of other games as well. Basically, once this card enters the field, this effect takes effect and is activated up until the card leaves the field. So whenever Wizard Protest is played onto the field, no more rapid effects may be activated. So I could not activate this effect if this card is on the field. Then we have Equipped. This is also pretty self-explanatory. Basically, you can attach this card to any other card on the field, and in this case, that card cannot be defeated in battle. So similar, it's just similar to other equip effects in other games. So I don't really think it needs much more explanation than that. Just an equip effect. Voluntary is kind of like the same as a trigger effect, except, well, there is no trigger. You can just activate the effect whenever you want during your turn. So it's the trigger effect kind of has to occur even if you don't want it to, I guess, if that makes sense. But the voluntary effect, you have the choice whether or not you want to activate the effect. So you're not forced to do it by any circumstances. And then lastly, I kind of went over this a little bit ago, but the overworld effect on the leader card is also a different type of effect that you might come across. And so this one is once per turn. You can return up to 2 cards in your hand to the bottom of your deck and draw the same amount of cards. So these are effects that are unique to the leaders that none of the other cards are really going to have. Here's the other leader card I had ready. And this is kind of actually the same thing. So, but there are other ones where it's like, all green cards cost 1 token less to play, or other like effects like maybe adds plus 100 power to any green cards that are in battle, stuff like that. Not super powerful effects, but definitely ones that will give you an advantage over your opponent. And I think that will wrap up this video. I feel like I went through a lot, but I think I covered everything that you need to know as far as the actual cards themselves and the layout and template and what all these numbers, symbols, and text means of what you might encounter whenever you're playing the game. So not quite sure what I'll do for the next video. I don't know how in depth I want to get. I don't know how much I want to maybe break it down into smaller parts, but we'll see. All right, thanks for watching.